Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm back. I apologize for the delay. Things got a bit crazy towards the end of the season, and then once the season ended, things just kept rolling from there. Had a bunch of weddings and some travel in there, but finally circled back. Wanted to make sure I get these vlogs done before it gets too late, or later, I should say. So what I'm going to do is break up the last 3 rounds into a 2-part series. So this first part is going to be covering the August Blackhawk Round and August Autobahn Round. And then the second video, part 2, is going to be covering the season finale at Blackhawk in September. So what we'll be doing first is I'm going to give a quick recap of the August Blackhawk Round, and then we'll cut back to some footage of me talking about what happened after the races when it's still kind of fresh, and you'll see some footage from the races there, and then we'll transition over to Autobahn and talk about that as well. So, quick summary of Blackhawk in August. Things didn't quite go as planned. I tried a couple gearing changes and some things, and I think I can see now that the season's over, it's definitely kind of where I want to be, but it didn't quite work out with practice and timing to where I had time to kind of get used to it, and it was more to get used to than I thought, because basically what I did is I went down in my rear sprocket, so I had less engine braking, but what I was doing in turn was over braking. I was braking for too long because of that, and then when I switched my gearing back, I was still doing the over braking, so I wasn't really consistent like I wanted to be throughout the weekend. Had some decent finishes, had some good races, especially in Super Sport Race 2, stay tuned for that, but overall, still made some progress here and there, but not quite where I wanted to be. So without further ado, like I said, we're going to cut to that footage from the Blackhawk weekend. Hope you enjoy that, and then stay tuned for the second half of the video, which will cover Autobahn. For the most part, I guess the easiest way I could sum things up is I pretty much raced about how I did when we were here in June. Lap times are about the same, results were kind of mixed. Did have some things I did improve on, have some things I need to work on, as always. One thing I'm going to try to focus on is getting my roll-off markers for my brakes, and basically like a point where every time I go into a turn, I want to be off the brakes by this point, and then back on the gas. That's the biggest thing I need to work on, just keeping that roll speed up. Because right now, when I'm feeling, okay, like decent, I'm at about like high 17s, low 18s. My goal is obviously to get that down into, mid to low 17s is my like normal pace. And I can see it, I've just got to do it more consistently. The more consistently I do it, the more I'll get used to it. It's just how my process is going to have to work. But start of the day was super sport and got the whole shot, was feeling good. Even better because Ike made it out. It was super awesome to have him out. Things felt a bit more normal having him at the track. And he kept showing me that I had no gap. Like, it was on me. Like someone was on me. And based on how past races have gone, it's usually been Tyson that's been the guy challenging me more often than not. And then around lap 5, about 2 to go, a bike comes blazing by me on the right, and it's Ryan Music on his KTM. Well, crap. That was a surprise. And I don't mean this as anything against Ryan, because Ryan's a really quick rider. He can do 18s on his 400. He's phenomenally fast. He would argue maybe not phenomenally fast, but I'm going to say it. But he came by me, and I just thought, oh, well, shoot. And Ryan is on a KTM 790, which has a little bit more straight line speed, punch out of the corners than me. But up until this weekend, well, today, Ryan had been running in like the 19s. I think he clicked a couple 18s, but usually in around the 19s, maybe an 18 here and there on the KTM. So he obviously turned the wick up, which I was actually really excited because it was really fun battling with him to try and stick with him. And I took those 2 laps to try and figure out where I could try and catch him, where I could make my move. But he also knows that too, being behind me, the areas where I'm stronger and he's not. And he was really good at blocking those spots off. He ended up winning the race. I got second in the race. But I honestly wasn't as upset as I might have normally been, just because I was able to learn some stuff following him, and it got me back down into technically another personal best, which would be a 17.4. So in the June round it was a 17.5. I hope I don't keep incrementally making my my gains of my best lap time by tenths, because I can still feel, you know, half second or more, whole second that I can make up. I've just got to get used to that feeling and do it. But I could tell I was still over braking a bit, which is my issue I had back in June. But I think it just got compounded and sent me in the wrong direction trying that gearing change. It just kind of threw off my rhythm. And then the last race, Ultralight Superbike, I said, all right, feeling good. It's the last race of the day. I want to try and, you know, have a decent finish. Oh. And I got a good start and was feeling really good, got the whole shot. Coming into 6, someone shows me wheeling, it's up on my inside. And it's Drew Jankert. Well, anyone who knows Drew knows that Drew's very fast. And I'd completely forgotten he was out there gridded up with us. But I did my best to stick with Drew as long as I could. Shannon came by and we battled for a little bit, and then she got ahead of me and I did my best to stick with her, and I was kind of just trying to run my race. And the issue I've been having is when people would pass me is I'm trying to obviously keep up with them, but I'm over trying in the sense that I was making mistakes and I was rushing into corners, braking too hard, basically like trying to make my time up on the brakes, which is like the worst thing you can do. So overall, bummed from the standpoint I didn't hit my 16s, because I know I can do it. And of course, after that last race, I wished I'd had another whole day of racing because I could feel it. And I think if I hadn't messed around with my gearing changes on Saturday, and if I would have put the good tire, like a fresh tire on then instead of waiting, I think I probably would have been there, honestly. But that's one of those things you look back and reflect like what you should have done and what you could have done. So that was our recap of Blackhawk in August. As you saw, things didn't quite go how I was hoping, but still took some positives out of that, and it's interesting to look back and reflect on that now. A lot of things I still feel the same about. You know, I had a lot of fun with that battle with Ryan Music in Supersport, trying to keep up with him in that KTM, and again, seeing where things ended up at the end of the season, I can definitely see where that gearing change would help, and with a couple other changes that we made between then and the last round. So like I said, stay tuned for part 2 because I'm going to go over that in a bit more detail and how the season ended up for me. But we had Autobahn next in August, and I was eager to get back there because I didn't have a real strong start there during the season. My pace was a little bit off, partly because I was testing out Dunlops in preparation to do Moto America, and also just knocking that rust off from being back. Overall, my pace wasn't bad, but I was eager to get back there for kind of a redemption round, so to speak. And overall, that weekend went really well. It was kind of similar to the year before, where things just started clicking again for me at that round. And I think a lot of it is that being such a small track, it takes away some of the horsepower advantages some of my opponents have. And it's a flow track, and I really like flow tracks where you just kind of flow through. There's not necessarily a lot of hard braking. It's all about keeping that roll speed up. And there's a few kind of funny things that happened throughout the weekend, which you'll see here in a couple minutes. But overall, it was a great weekend. My goal was to break into the 8s. I only managed to break into like the 109 flats, so I was like right on the cusp. But the difference being is instead of just hitting 1 or 2 lap times in that realm, I was actually pretty consistent in that low 109 range. So I was really happy with that. I'd almost rather have that than, you know, I'm hitting a 108 something, and then a mid to high 109, and then a low 109, and then another high 109, then a 108. I was pretty consistent in the low 109 area, so that was cool. I got to have some fun races with people, had some fun battles with Jared and Shannon and some other racers out there, so that was a lot of fun. And like I said, now we'll kind of cut over to that footage, me talking about the weekend a little bit, and I hope you enjoy. Nothing quite like that. Race morning feelings. Pre-race morning feels. Love that feeling. The nervous excitement. Well, we're on lunch. GT did not go how I wanted. I think I put too much pressure on my rear tire because it was danced around on me. I had to wait to get on the gas, and things wasn't handling how I wanted, and was stuck doing 10s, which I shouldn't be. So, gonna work on some things for the next race, because in the end, there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. I got caught right at the end. Turn 7 on the last lap. But we're on lunch right now. I'm gonna kind of hit the reset. I put my settings back to where I had them yesterday. So the 4 millimeters I had raised, I took that out, and then I took out the turn and rear ride height. So we're basically where we were towards the end of the day yesterday, and we're gonna go from there. I went out for Super Sport, and I lined up, was ready to go, and the flag station, they weren't up in the flag stand, they were down on the ground, and I was watching them getting ready, and then all of a sudden so what normally what happens is you see a 2 board, they flip it over to a 1, they turn it sideways, green flag. And I don't remember if she just did it really quick and I wasn't expecting it. I feel like the person with the board went to 1 and sideways like really fast. And I let out the clutch just a hair and my front moved, and then I stopped, and then she did the green flag, and then I went. And I thought I was fine because Tyson got the jump. I didn't gain any advantage or anything. And what you call it? Unfortunately, I got black flagged or meatballed. I got called in, so I had to do a ride through, which really sucked. And for some reason, they shortened our race to 6 laps. Now, I don't think I would have been able to catch Tyson anyways, but I came in, he went by, and the amateurs went by, and I got mixed up with them with like a lap to go. And then I had GP, and unfortunately it ended up just being Shannon and I in GP. And the first couple laps, I wasn't really in a good rhythm. I was running low 10, Shannon got by me, and then I basically just ended up kind of using her as a carrot and tried to just not override to try and catch up to her. And when I still slowly started reeling her in, and on the last lap, I was reeling her in more, and then I saw that I had my lap timer on predictive, and I remember coming through the last couple turns, and it was at 109.06 or 0.07, and then as I came out of the last turn, it was 0.06, 0.05, 0.04, 0.03, and my goal for the weekend was to just hit an 8, get in the 8s, and at the line I did a 109.00, so 109 flat. And then, so the next race was lightweight superbike, and it was Jared, Shannon, and I. And I didn't get a great start. I got a pretty sick wheelie at the start, which scared the crap out of me. But didn't get the start I wanted, but I was in second. I tried to stick with Jared for a bit, and I made a mistake second or third lap. I got in a little hot and I missed a shift coming into 2. Bike got upset, I ran wide, Shannon went by me. I was able to get back by her, I think in 6, and we ended up having a pretty good battle, back and forth. She'd pass me, I'd repass her, I think I'd repassed her into 7, and then I had a pass I'm pretty proud of for my own racecraft and learning into turn 1 and 2, so that was fun. But I know Shannon's got really good corner exit speed, and she's got like a really fast bike underneath her, and I knew she was gonna if she was there coming out of the last corner, I probably wasn't gonna stay ahead of her. So what I did was I tried to put my head down and I ran some low 9s again, but didn't win the race. But it was cool because I ended up getting 2nd in that race, which was awesome. I ended up holding that off at the line. And then Ultralight Superbike, which is the last race of the day, which I'm going to call kind of like my redeeming race from Super Sport, because I'm pissed I didn't win that race. I got the whole shot. Well, no, I didn't get the whole shot in Ultralight, but I was able to repass Tyson into turn 2. It was a little loose, bike got a little loose underneath me, but I held it and was able to hold it. And I was slowly building up a gap. From what I remember, I was giving me gaps, and I ran some low 9s in that race, like 109.06 to like 109.3, somewhere in there. Which, the thing with this weekend is I wanted to hit an outright lap of like being in the 8s, and I think I can see what I need to do it, kind of after the fact. And it's just cleaning up a couple areas, whatnot. But my outright pace was overall, my outright pace in races were quicker. Last time we were here, when we had similar conditions last year, it was like a turning point weekend for me. I think my best lap time was like a 109.3 or 109.4, but I only did it once or twice. Everything else is like mid to high 9s, low 10s. And this time, once we got things dialed, I was able to run consistent low 9s. Like those last 2 races, I was pretty much consistent with those low 9s, which is great. All right, everybody. That is the recap of the 2 rounds that we had here at Blackhawk and Autobahn before the final round of the season. And much like it went for me in 2020, this Autobahn round was kind of that turning point for me, or that round where I made another step. And I was really looking forward to taking that momentum and putting it into the last round of the season to finish things off strong, which will be the next video that I'm doing to cover the final round of the season. That final video won't be a breakout of different things. It's just going to be covering that final round and going over that. And I'm really excited to share that with everybody, so stay tuned for that. And with that being said, as always, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like, what things you want to see more of, what things you don't want to see. Like I said, I'm still kind of new at this, and I think no matter what, much like with racing, much like with anything, it's always going to be always evolving, always learning. So any feedback that I get, I will definitely take that into consideration and try some different things. So like I said, let me know. And a huge shout out, as always, to all my wonderful sponsors for all their continued support. Would not be able to do what I do on the track and off the track and everything without your support. And I'm looking forward to sharing that next video with everybody soon. So thanks. But wait, there's more. A couple quick shout outs. Number 1 to Kraken's Garage, who gave me some feedback and a nice shout out for my video review of my Scorpion EXO-R1 helmet. And I will have a link in the description to his page down below. It's got some really neat motorcycle related content, so I encourage you to go check him out. And shout out number 2 goes to my buddy Kevin and his dad for the tow back from Autobahn. Now, it wasn't a literal tow, but we had some fun kind of convoying back on the trip back home, back to Wisconsin. So stay tuned, and I'm going to add that footage in here right after this. So check it out. See, racing family is obviously very present at the track, but it extends even outside of the track. What do I mean by that? You know, when a fellow racer, you know, they pass you on the road, and you know, you're thinking, I wonder if they're going to catch you, and you're going to about roughly the same area, and you're pulling an open trailer and they're pulling an enclosed trailer. What do? You use them as a draft. So shout out to my buddy Kevin, his dad, for helping us increase that gas mileage home, and as we got this race convoy heading back home to Sheboygan. So see, that's the great thing about race family, especially motorcycle race family.
Always taking care of one another.
Always taking care of one another, even if they didn't intend to.